In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect, let us renew our resolution, sincerely, to be real brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened by knowing that we are God's family, that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us, and endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen. This morning I'll be sharing a homily by my colleague, Reverend Gary Kowalski, with a few additions by me. When I think of power, he says, strength, sheer physical force, I think of an avalanche. Tons of thundering snow come falling down the side of a steep mountain with the speed and irresistible force of a locomotive or a freight train. In an instant, an avalanche can sweep away everything in its path. But there's something even more powerful than an avalanche, and that's a glacier. A glacier doesn't move as fast as an avalanche. It can be slow, inching forward a few yards in the course of an entire year. But glaciers are enormous. They can be a mile wide and hundreds of feet thick, a creeping river of ice that can move boulders like matchsticks and grind smaller rocks to powder fine as flour. A glacier moved over this land 20,000 years ago and formed this spit of sand we call Cape Cod. Avalanches and glaciers are powerful forces of nature, very strong, giants of the natural world. But there is something even stronger in nature, and that would be a flower. Of course, there are flowers that take the names of those other natural forces. There is the avalanche lily and the glacier lily. Each spring, as the snow begins to melt in the high mountains, these tiny flowers push their slender green stalks upward through the softening ice, through the wintry crust, and into the warming sun. The avalanche lily has white flowers with a yellow center, and the glacier lily is all yellow. Neither is very big. Compared to a glacier, they're tiny. The flowers are just an inch or two in size. But the bud is inside a growing green stem that pierces right through the cold overlay of February and March and brightens into the promise of April and a brand new season. Flowers themselves are newcomers on the earth. For in the beginning, millions of years ago, there were no flowers. There were ferns. There were fungi. There were dull, mossy-colored plants that spread and reproduced by means of spores. But there were no orchids or azaleas, no blossoms of apple or peach or pear, no fields of grass or daisies or brightly colored wildflowers. It was a monotonous world. Not only dull in color, but also dull in sense and feeling. For this was the age of the dinosaurs, great hulking lizards who ruled the earth through brute force. They were giants of the animal kingdom, big and powerful, but dumb, like an avalanche or a glacier. They were no match for flowers, you understand. For toward the end of the age of dinosaurs, about 100 million years ago, something strange and very wonderful happened. Plants learned how to do a new thing. They learned how to reproduce through seeds. Unlike the spores that preceded them, seeds were actually tiny organisms, embryonic but ready to grow, packaged like meals to go, with built-in stores of nutrition. And that gave the world an entirely new source of edible and abundant energy. Energy that could be converted into heat, that boosted the temperature of the four-legged and flying creatures up a notch, from cold-blooded to warm. Birds and mammals appeared. The limbic system that governs the emotions was laid over the old reptilian brain, and the inner landscape changed. Mothers began to feel a deepened bond with their children, and children clung with affection to the parents. Love appeared, and loyalty, and grief, tears and laughter, curiosity and play, all made possible by the blooming plants that had turned the earth into a botanical buffet of rare fragrances and sweet perfumes. So with the invention of seeds came all of the birds that feed on the seeds, the cardinals and the grosbeaks and finches. And the grass made grasslands, and all the creatures that thrive on the grassland, horses and zebras and prairie dogs and antelope and deer. And plants learned how to produce fruit. And the fruit also provided meals for monkeys and chimpanzees, and finally for you and me. And it all started with the rise of the angiosperms, which is the name that scientists give to flowers or plants that produce seeds and flowers and fruits. The earth took on a whole new look. The ferns were crowded out by all the amazing diversity of life we see today, and the slow-moving dinosaurs gave way, replaced by creatures who were not only quick, but also quick-witted, warm-blooded and warm-hearted, sensitive and tender, as bright and agile mentally as the flowers were brilliant in all their purples and yellows and blues and crimsons. And so it is that age after age, the warm-hearted and the loving have risen up in all their uniqueness, celebrating the diversity of creation to combat and overcome all those who prefer conformity and sameness and domination by brute force. They make their way through the ice like persistent lilies. They change the world through the overwhelming beauty of diversity. They inspire not by conforming, but by coming together in all their unique glory, uniting into a stunning bouquet of humanity. Reverend Norbert Čapek was a Unitarian minister who lived in the last century in the city of Prague. His home and his church were overrun by German soldiers in the years of World War II. He gave his life defying their cruel occupation. But before he died, he influenced thousands of people with the beauty of his words and ideals, including the flower ceremony that he originated, symbolizing the light and color and fragrance of many creeds, many cultures, and many races joining together in a bright, living bouquet. The flower ceremony continues to be celebrated in Čapek's congregation in Prague and in hundreds of others around the world, a testament to the power of love to withstand hate, and to the vision of a tolerant faith which sweeps the world not by persecution or threats of violence, but by drawing people to its principles with the sweet scent of peace and freedom. The flowers that we will share this morning bring us the assurance that warmth and kindness can pierce through the frost of cruelty and indifference, that mercy and decency will blossom, that goodness has deep roots and will prevail. What seems most fragile and perishable is actually most persistent and enduring. Sisterhood and brotherhood, justice and charity will ultimately prevail. And if we nurture that seed of compassion inside ourselves, it could become the greatest force on earth. This is the lesson of flowers. Today we have brought flowers of all different kinds, grown in all different places, representing our unique identities and paths traveled. And don't worry if you didn't bring a flower, people were thinking of you, and they brought extra, and they are in the back hallway. As we bring our flowers forward, may we celebrate the inherent worth, dignity, and beauty of every human person. And may we add our small piece of unique and divine beauty to the collective vases of this community. Later in the service, we will each receive a flower in return. But now, let's see what collective beauty we can create when we all come together with our unique gifts and offer them to that which is greater than ourselves. As the music begins, I invite you to bring your flower forward and add it to our altar. Let's begin in the front of the sanctuary on this side and move all the way back, and then this section, until all of our offerings are mingled, all of our gifts shared, all of our individual beauty honored and made whole by our gathering together. Let us begin. Reverend Chapek. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Amen.